Matthew, the 2nd chapter. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem, asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star in the east and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all of Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. And they told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea. For so it has been written by the prophet, and you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod secretly called for the Magi and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen in the east, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then, opening their treasure chest, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road. This is the gospel of the Lord. Please be seated. Grace, peace, and mercy are yours from the triune God. Amen. Every year growing up, my mom's side of the family had a tradition of putting on a Christmas pageant. I have probably talked about this before. It's one of my favorite memories growing up as a kid. My grandma, a long time ago, on a typewriter, wrote a Christmas pageant, like a classic one. Nothing fancy about it. And every Christmas, we would put up folding chairs in my grandpa and grandma's living room. My grandma would hand out the scripted parts and the costumes from her chest of costumes. And every year, I would be disappointed because my older cousins would always take the part of the three wise men. They had the best costumes and the best props. And it could have just been that I looked up to my cousins, but the three wise men were cool. Cooler than everybody else. Cooler than the shepherds with their little cotton sheep. They were cool. And my cousin's specific rendition and interpretation of the part, year after year, had them acting not like earthly kings, but actually much more like the Three Stooges. They called each other wise guys, like Mo, Larry, and Curly, and did the whole, Three Stooges thing, with each other. And it was super fun to see. I didn't know what it was at the time. They were older than I was, but now it's funny. And as I've been considering the text this week, I have been thinking about that family Christmas pageant. My cousins, and I have been thinking about power and wisdom and what it looks like. And I have been thinking about what we in our culture think of as cool or good or something to emulate. As I have been thinking about all of this, I think my cousins, with all their goofiness, might have actually done a pretty good job of capturing the essence of these characters from the East. Because truly, the Bible paints them as, for me at least, my reading, as kind of humorous, or at least a little different, unique, and out there, but also with the capacity for great honesty and authenticity in who they were. And I think it's that combination that always draws people in. I think it's intentional that the writer does it that way. It's that differentness with authenticity and honesty that bring people into who makes somebody cool, right? Somebody we want to be like. And they are not exactly kingly. They were different, powerful, wise, maybe unpredictable, but the wise magi are good. And my guess is that the writer of Matthew contrasts that to Herod on purpose, who reacts with fear and meanness, clearly not wise. Again, in contrast to that, the Magi seem cool. And it feels like Matthew wants us to love them and emulate them. And I have just never thought about that before until this week. This is the text we always read at the very start of Epiphany. Epiphany is the day that we celebrate the part of the story where Jesus' nature is revealed. But specifically on this Sunday, the day we celebrate the Feast of Epiphany, which happens on January 6th, is the day we remember these wise people from the East. And our tradition has made all sorts of assumptions about these folks. For instance, we like to say that there are three of them. The text says that there are three gifts, but there could probably be a lot more people bringing those three gifts. We sing about them being kings, but it doesn't say that. It says they were powerful, learned people, philosophers. They knew how to read the stars, but they weren't kings in the gospel text. We even say that they were men. Three wise men, right? Probably, but maybe not. Who knows who was in this mix of travelers? But what is important for us to know about these folks is whoever they were, they did not know the customs of the people there in Jerusalem. They didn't know the religious traditions or presumably the political structures at play in and around the city. After all, why would someone walk in and ask the current king, especially a king with the reputation Herod had, where is the new king? Just imagine. It probably would have come as quite a shock to King Herod to find that out by this entourage of astrologers from a different tradition than their own, with different accents and clothing than anyone was used to seeing in his court. I wonder then what it would have been like to be there that day, hearing the news. Herod's reaction. He gathers his wise people, his scholars, his institutions of wisdom, and asks them what memo he had missed. After all, it did happen, it sometimes did happen where illegitimate kings were named as a protest against Rome. And to the scribes and priests' credit, they don't lie to Herod. They tell them, yes, the prophets say that the Messiah will be born in Bethlehem, the city of David. That's what their scriptures say. And so Herod secretly devises a plot. Herod tries to make the Magi into unknowing spies for him, and of course lies to them, saying that he would like to worship this new king too and make sure to tell him where the new king is, but secretly plans to go and kill him as soon as he finds out. It's interesting, isn't it? How different power is portrayed in this story. Power is not a bad thing. The Magi are powerful. They have money. They have resources to travel. They have wisdom. They are curious. All of this is powerful. They have power, but it is a different power than King Herod's. King Herod, his power, he also has people at his disposal, right? He has wise people to act as consultants for him. He has armies and money and influence. Although it's cruel and mean and full of fear, it is power. But it is not Herod who uses his power well in the story. It's these outsider Magi's from an unknown East. Herod lies. Herod cheats. Herod murders. fear wraps its fingers around him, and his insecurities and greed make him do horrible things as a result. And the Magi, on the other hand, they go and find Jesus and give him gifts. In hearing in a dream, do not return to Herod, but go back another way. They refuse to cooperate with whatever scheme they believe Herod might have. And that's the last we hear of them. They don't really come up any other time in the story. Some of their gifts do. But the characters themselves, the Magi, they fade into the background. Their part played, they just go home to their own country. They use their power to give some of it away to worship Jesus, or at least to honor him, and even use their power to protect him by keeping his whereabouts a secret, and they left. They didn't hold a coup or try to leverage their wisdom and might to convince Mary and Joseph that their son could rule and set themselves up as the power behind the throne. They just went home on a different road. A road away from the power of Jerusalem and Herod and all of its fear. True wisdom, true power. To see something wondrous, to take time and pay homage to it, to honor it, and then to leave it unbothered and unharmed. Friends, I have said it many times this Advent and Christmas season, but this is an old, old story, and we have much to learn from it. Not just as an academic exercise, but how we as people and we as a culture understand power and how we wrestle with our own curiosity and fear. The Magi in the story, they show how good leaders should act. Matthew makes it clear that these are wise people. Their example should be followed. This is not the way power in our world is shown. It seems, as of late, that the powers of our world act a lot more like King Herod than the Magi. Seems like corruption and lying and seizing more power at every turn, no matter how violent and illegal it may be, is sort of the name of the game these days. And of course, you and I here in Castle Rock, Colorado, need to wonder what we do with all that. Because this Epiphany that we celebrate is not just a political moment in the Bible where Herod's power is shown to be empty. It's about the revealing of Christ himself. It's about the showing forth of Christ's nature as God, as teacher, as healer, as king, to be worshipped, learned from, healed by, and followed by us. We do not celebrate the Epiphany of King Herod. That's not what wise people should do. If we are wise, if we allow ourselves to occupy that specific space of wonder, that particular kind of wisdom exemplified by these wise magi, that lets one love and give and worship and follow. We will find the ways of Jesus if we follow this example, not the way of Herod. We will find the power of Jesus full of vulnerability, shameless love, authenticity, and kindness, and we will walk away from the power of earthly kings and hateful lies. If Matthew wants us to know anything about power and wisdom, Matthew wants us to know that the power of Herod and earthly kings is not the same power of Jesus and the Magi. It's not the same. It's very different. And we get to choose. And though it might seem awkward and goofy at first and out of place and foreign, and it might seem silly even, like how my cousins goofed around in their bathrobe costumes, there is something so pure and beautiful and powerful about what the Magi do in this story. With all of their power and wisdom, they point to Jesus. They point to the new way and say, this is the one. Both at the humble manger and also in the halls of Herod's power, they tell the truth in the midst of kings. This Epiphany, how is Christ being revealed for us? How is the power of relationships, vulnerability, and giving being shone forth amongst us? How do we see and follow that kind of power? As our own country and community is full of violence, full of following lies built up by greed and hate, whose influence and power will we follow? Will we choose a different path away from Herod? Where will it lead us? What will be the ways we point to Jesus in and out of the halls of power and give our allegiance to him? Happy Epiphany. May we know wisdom. Amen. Well of Hope is an inclusive community of faith in the ELCA. We proclaim God's love for all, we create community through worship, study, and play, and we serve in love. If you want to be a part of this, sign up for our weekly email online here, follow us on our social media, or stop by worship at 10 o'clock at New Hope Presbyterian Church. Go through the big wooden doors on the right. We look forward to seeing you.